Flawedcast, episode number 61, the Normalcy Bias Bamboozle. Conformity is the jailer of freedom and the enemy of growth. John F. Kennedy. Let us raise a standard to which the wise and honest can repair. The rest is in the hands of God. George Washington.
Flawedcast. Flawedcast. Get in the arena.
Woo! America.
What's up, Will?
Good morning, Jason.
How you been, man?
I'm actually pretty good. How are you?
I am, listen, baby, it's cold outside. That's all I can say.
I can tell.
Hey, baby, you looking hot tonight.
Oh, thank you.
Johnny's so complimentary right off the bat. He hasn't even done his introduction music yet.
He must like me.
Well, what's not to like?
What's going on, guys? What's going on?
Good morning.
Happy post-Christmas.
Yes, as we record this, it is the day after Christmas.
Now maybe switch the name to Post-Christmas Apocalypse.
Yes, and you find citizens of this country known as the United States of America will be listening to this on New Year's Day.
You know what I really like? When you think about it, this is the last episode we will record in 2020, and the first one you will hear in 2021.
Let that sink in.
You're correct.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you.
Want to thank and welcome everyone to a brand new fun-filled episode of Flawedcast. And actually, so it's New Year's when you're listening to this, but we hope you had a good holiday. I know I got to spend some quality time with my people. Jason and I watched Die Hard and enjoyed some holiday spirits, Christmas Eve, and I got to see Johnny also, so that was good.
We had Die Hard at our house going on Christmas night, so it's not a full Christmas until you've watched a little John McClane.
At any rate, we are thankful that you guys are still plugging away and hanging in with us. Couple things to bring to your attention. First and foremost, with the new year, if you are listening to this before January 6th, I'm making a personal plea for you to try to make it to our country's capital in DC, as there will be a rally in support of the real president, try to put some pressure on our elected employees to do the right thing in this debacle that, we're right on the edge of having a completely compromised Chinese communist agent and his entire crime family running this thing. So if that doesn't make your cheeks pucker up, then you must be deader than my heart. January 6th, that's the day that Congress and Senator voting and talking about this. So if you can make it, DC, use our First Amendment right to peacefully protest and to petition our government for grievances. So that being said, please continue to share. I am just blown away by the progress we're making on Rumble. We are kicking butt and taking names, and a lot of subscribers, a lot of views on that. And as my friend Adam and I used to say, we are rumbling over the years, and he listens, so he'll probably get a kick out of that. But nonetheless, please subscribe. We are on Rumble. We are still on YouTube. We're still on Apple, still on Spotify, anywhere you can listen to podcasts. Flawedcast, CLE, flawedinc.com is our website. You can email us at info@flawedinc.com.
Speaking of messages, we've gotten a lot of positive messages lately. I was feeling the love yesterday. I don't know if you were feeling it when you sent those over to us.
Yes. Parler, I tell you what, there's a good dozen or so people in Parler, if you're listening to this, bless your heart, that keep sharing. Just, it's so humbling that, because I understand the nature of things that we talk about could be triggering or controversial, but, on Parler, and even Gab on a lesser amount, but Parler, there's just a bunch of people there that are just into free speech. They want alternative points of view, and they appreciate that. They don't block that or silence that like other platforms, if you will. Yeah, Johnny, absolutely.
I was feeling the love. I don't know.
Well, whatever you and the missus were doing afterwards, that's great. But yes, we were getting some big love on our latest episode about the Nuremberg Code. And yes, Virginia, evil does exist nonetheless. So I want to thank you guys. We're currently on Parler and Gab. We're doing very well on those: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
Winning.
Flawed Inc. for there, flawedinc.com, once again, is our website. And as our tradition, the Pledge of Allegiance.
Right. Jason, if you will.
Take your right hand, place it over your left heart.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right.
It's all good, guys.
So we actually sat down for dinner on Christmas Eve at my wife's brother's house, and my little niece said she was going to do grace, and little did we know that my wife plotted with her, and we all bowed our heads for grace, and she started to pledge like on Christmas vacation. It was awesome. We all did a Pledge of Allegiance.
That's
it
awesome.
was really cool, actually.
That's super sweet. So this episode, we're going to get into something that I've been having conversations with people inadvertently, whether they know it or not, about the idea of a normalcy bias. So that's why we call it Normalcy Bias Bamboozle.
Because who doesn't like the word bamboozle?
Right. I just thought, when do you get to use such an awesome word? So we're going to use that today, or like Joey, Chandler, and Ross and Friends. But nonetheless, got a couple scriptures here, and then we're going to get into clinical definitions of what a normalcy bias is. And please, if it's within your ability to take stock and really examine the nature of this, and if you are falling victim to this, or maybe you aren't, or maybe we're just crazy, that could be. But
Crazy.
there you go. So Matthew 26, verse 41 from the Amplified says, keep actively watching and praying that you may not come into temptation. The spirit is willing, the body is weak. Also says here in the Message, stay alert, be in prayer so you don't wander into temptation without even knowing you are in danger. There is a part of you that is eager and ready for anything in God, but there's another part that is lazy as an old dog sleeping by the fire. So I really like that, but I don't know which one of you two fine gentlemen want to start to get into the definition of what a normalcy bias.
Rock, paper, scissors. I think it's been rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Oh, you got me.
All right.
Hey, this is the first time that Jay Solomons won the rock, paper, scissors.
It is actually. That's
It's a whole new world.
Tide's turning,
It's
baby.
a whole new world.
Tide's turning.
new year, new you. All right, go ahead, brother. Kicking.
An insight into the concept of normalcy bias in psychology. In psychology, there is a concept known as normalcy bias, which explains why most people underestimate the threat during a crisis. What is a normalcy bias? Well, the definition is, normalcy bias is a psychological state of denial people enter in the event of a disaster, as a result of which they underestimate the possibility of the disaster actually happening and its effects on their life and property. Their denial is based on the assumption that if the disaster has not occurred until now, it will never occur. Normalcy bias is a part of human nature, but beyond a limit, it can pose a serious threat to life and property. If people are not prepared for an impending disaster, it is most probably because of this psychological phenomenon. There is a theory which associates normalcy bias with the evolutionary aspect that suggests that paralysis gives an animal a better chance of survival because predators are less likely to attack and feed on something that isn't moving. An estimated 70% of people are affected by normalcy bias. Of the remaining 30%, half the people freak out while the remaining show presence of mind and do the right thing. The good thing about a large population being affected by the state of mind is that it is easier to convince them. They may not heed to warnings, but seeing their neighbors and friends prepare for the impending disaster can motivate them to do the same. These 70% can also help in pacifying those people who freak out in such circumstances. On the flip side, however, they may hinder those who are doing the right thing. Overcoming normalcy bias. As normalcy bias prevents us from acting to protect ourselves, it is important to know how to overcome it. Being well informed is the first step towards your goal.
This is just a basic Cliff Note version of normalcy bias.
Now, did you come up with that all by yourself, Bill?
No, I did not. There is a lot of different resources I found that pretty much says the same thing. And, you're talking about 70%, which is the majority of people refuse to believe that there is impending danger when there actually is, because if it hasn't happened, it's not going to. Now, it also ties in to when Jesus says, watch and pray. He's telling us to be vigilant. He's telling us to always be on guard so that we don't fall into temptation. Or I like how the Message Bible says that we don't fall into danger like an old dog falling asleep by a fire, that we don't get lulled into the idea of normalcy, like, oh, it hasn't happened, it's not going to happen.
What did he reference when he was talking about the virgins with their lampstands, make sure that they're always trimmed and,
Yes.
and ready to go? I mean, that it's all applies to what we're dealing with right now.
Exactly.
Better to be prepared for when the obvious impending disaster happens than to try and respond at the last second and talk about reactions and responses. And you respond, it's always poor. It's always poor.
When you react, it's always poor.
A reaction. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, a reaction versus a response.
The only reason I say this is because I have a whole chapter in my book that's hopefully going to come out soon. I'm waiting to get my stimulus check. We're just going to talk about that in a minute. But
I've got a question about this. When I hear normalcy bias, when we're talking about it, I think, man, we already know of Operation Mockingbird. We know that's true. We know that the government has been involved. The CIA has been involved in Hollywood. We know that as fact. So how have they helped normalize events?
I'm glad you asked that. We are going to get into this. Yes,
okay.
we're going to address this today. And, like our last episode, we talk about the Nuremberg Code, and we talk about what I personally believe, and now it's been like a week week or so since these vaccines have been rolled out, we're starting to see a lot of people are having adverse reactions to these. And to me, it just makes flags raised. But nonetheless, my larger point being with the normalcy bias is that, like, I'm going to refer back to Jesus. It's the idea of watching and praying, being vigilant. And like Jason said, how does Hollywood play? Not only Hollywood, how does politics? How does religious or spiritual people, all these aspects of life, how do they play into this normalcy bias that I would say feed into it? I want us to begin to address this. Johnny, go ahead and get into this first article.
This is from a CNN article from December 15th.
Yes, not my conspiracy theory news.
The pandemic has destroyed friendship and divided families. And if you don't find that to be true, then you're not being honest. Abby Mahler ended a childhood friendship in the comments of one of her Instagram posts. You do not get to like the post with the amount of restaurants you eat at. Insert four-letter colorful word here. I mean it, she wrote. Mahler, 27, has lupus and is immunocompromised. She has spent the past 9 months using her social media account to help inform others about the importance of mask wearing. But Instagram has also been a window into the day-to-day activities of people who have gone about with their lives as if there was no pandemic at all. Eating at restaurants, mask-free, going to lavish vacations, hanging out at bars. So when one of those friends hit like on one of her posts, she didn't hold back. I have no patience for people who don't think literal rules apply to them, Mahler told CNN, and for people who don't have an understanding and the disconnect between their behavior and reality.
This is probably goodest place as any to just stop and say, first and foremost, CNN.
Yes.
Secondly, rules. Who literally think the rules don't apply for them? Well, apparently, I'm not aware of the legislation that was voted on and passed by any ruling governing body, whether it be local, state, or federal, that has decreed any of these things. Rules
And this is where I would also insert...
Hey, John, that's weird. That glass looks half full to me.
Wow, now that you mention it, it is half full.
We're not knocking people. I wear a mask when I go to restaurants. Bill frequents restaurants with me. He doesn't wear a mask. Do Bill and John get along just fine? Absolutely. I wear it, honestly, just mostly to be polite to people who are going to freak out about it. I figure I'm not going to ruffle your feathers. I have a lot of issues with the whole idea of a mask. It doesn't bother me.
But it is anything we would end our
it's not something
decades
that Bill and I
long.
Yeah, we're not going to toss out. But I mean, there are people literally in households who just won't speak to each other.
Right. The reason I'm having us touch on this now is because this is becoming part of this normalcy bias.
It's part of a conditioning.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
In order for a normalcy bias to take root, there has to be a long, extenuating programming that has to take place, right?
Absolutely.
This has never, ever happened here, so why would I think it would, right? And that is kind of what we're seeing now.
The media conditioned us, and furthermore, they always create the narrative. There has to be a villain in every situation, and there has to be somebody on the right side, and they are going to look at Bill and I walking into a place. They're going to say, and I might be a complete jerk-off. They don't know. Right. But I got a mask on, so in their conditioning theory, because of what they've been inundated by Hollywood, by the media, John must be a good guy, and that guy must hate people. He's not wearing a mask.
Yeah. And that's 100% true. But
well,
yes, no, I know what you're saying. Yeah, I don't hate every person. But Jason, can you hit this next one?
Yeah. A number of Americans that are depressed or considering suicide has soared because of the COVID lockdowns. Coming into this year, suicide was at an all-time record high in the United States, and more Americans were on antidepressants than ever before. Unfortunately, the COVID lockdowns have made things even worse. The following is an excerpt from a study that was released just a few days ago. The unfolding of the current COVID-19 pandemic, the worst global public health crisis in recent history, has caused unprecedented medical, social, and economical upheaval across the globe and inflicted profound psychological pain on many people. The rapid spread of this highly contagious disease resulted in a host of mental health consequences. Feelings of uncertainty, sleep disturbances, anxiety, distress, and depression. The wide adoption of restrictive measures, although helpful in controlling the spread of the virus, inevitably resulted in psychological and financial costs that may have long-term psychological effects. A lot of people will never be the same again after this. To assess mental health, substance use, and suicidal ideation during the pandemic, representative panel surveys were conducted among adults aged 18 and over across the United States. Overall, 40.9% of respondents reported at least one adverse mental or behavioral health condition, including symptoms of anxiety disorder or depressive disorder. 31% symptoms of trauma and stressor-related disorder related to the pandemic, 26.3%, and having started or increased substance use to cope with stress or emotions related to COVID-19, 13.3%. The percentage of respondents who reported having seriously considered suicide in the 30 days before completing the survey, 11%, was significantly higher among respondents aged 18 to 24 years, 25.5%. Minority, racial, ethnic groups, Hispanic respondents, 18.6%. Non-Hispanic Black respondents, 15.1%. Self-reported unpaid caregivers for adults, 30.7%. And essential workers, 21.7%. More than a quarter of all Americans aged 18 to 24 had seriously considered suicide in the last 30 days. That is more than 1/4. The mental health of Americans was already the worst it had ever been coming into this year. And now people are literally having major meltdowns all around us. Interestingly, according to one recent survey, there was one group of people that did not experience a mental health decline in 2020. According to a Gallup poll released on Monday, frequent church attendees were the only group in the U.S. that did not experience a mental health decline in 2020.
You mean strip club attendees?
Yeah, I mean, and what's so funny about that, I know you got something to say, Bill, I'm just going to say it real quick, is what has been completely banned basically across the United States.
Churches attendance. Well, oddly enough, you look back to the Revolutionary War, one of the reasons I think they're focusing on churches, restaurants, and bars so much is because the clergymen, churches, people like Sam Adams, had the Green Dragon Tavern. This is where the militia, this is where the colonial...
So the ideas come together, my friend.
Exactly. So we're creating a normalcy bias in that, and I know that might sound conspiratorial, but it isn't. That is history.
It's just another coincidence, Bill.
Right. And the reason we're even bringing this up is because a couple episodes ago we had talked about in the month of October that more people in Japan had killed themselves in 1 month than the entire year that had died of COVID. So I've been looking for some more statistics, and even though this is kind of broad, I think this gives us an idea. The horrifying thing is where it says over a quarter of Americans in that particular demographic have thought about opting out, as it were. So we're creating this normalcy bias. The first 2 months of the lockdown, I think I saw Jason and Jeremy. I saw you guys twice.
Drove up and hung out,
yeah, it was like a drive-by. Hey, I love you guys.
Hey, we love you. You have to drive by your house and stop for 5 seconds.
I know, but there's this normalcy bias now that this is how
the new normal.
Right,
Bullshit.
Yeah, the reset.
Well, and we talked about that a couple episodes ago.
So the ones who don't want to off themselves have this mentality?
I hate you all so much!
No, that's just me. But so we're trying desperately to point out what a normalcy bias is. Do or do you not have one? And let's look at some things that may be propelling us down that road of saying, okay, a normalcy bias is becoming the standard. Like Jason just said, the new normal.
The more I think about that, just blood starts boiling. New normal, right? What is the new normal?
Well,
so the new normal. The new
is.
normal is not seeing family, not seeing friends, staying locked up in your home, right? Doing everything remotely through video and whatnot, never getting together.
It's what Bill was just talking about. It's the Hollywood narrative. Every time you turn on your TV, there's a commercial where it says, stay safe, show them that you love them by not being with them.
Right. Well, and then the other piece you got to throw in is also for a lot of people, it means depending on the government financially. That's the new normal.
In order to herd the cat, I do agree with what you're saying, and we're going to address this.
I'm just saying I get really frustrated.
No, I know. As I do, and as I think most people, like, once again, I'm going to bring up what Jesus said.
And
watch
people buy
and
into
pray.
this, and they're like, oh, no, that's good. This is okay. I think there's honestly people who think that, and I get it, this isn't going to be out till the 1st, but they honestly think that the day that you're listening to this episode for the first time, everything's going to be different.
Yeah.
2021 is going to be different.
What did you say? 2021 says,
hold my beard. I mean,
2020 was bad.
I don't understand how people can think like this is okay and say things like the new normal
because
and
of
follow along.
Because of their normalcy bias.
I understand.
Like shoot to the slaughter.
Right, that's why we're pointing this out. And so, Johnny, go ahead and...
Gonna have to double wrap.
Double wrap, yeah. I think you're going to have to share some with Jason, too. He's got that look on his face.
Jay, you want some? Here we go.
Thank you.
Watch his...
Oh, yeah. Pull tight right there.
Don't... You need help?
All right, that's good. Rip it off.
Good
Thanks.
job. Good job.
This is about the 6 first gun control measures to expect from a Biden administration. Number 1, banning pistol braces. Pistol braces are attachments to the rear of a handgun designed to provide stability to the shooter by using the shooter's forearm as support. Currently, adding a pistol brace to a handgun does not change the firearm's legal status as a handgun. This is why pistol braces are so popular.
But you know what's crazy? It's easier to get a rifle than a handgun.
Moving along.
Yeah, there's a whole lot more to get angsty about here.
Yeah.
Number two, banning homemade firearms. Under federal law, it is perfectly legal for anyone who is legally allowed to possess a firearm to make his or her own gun at home for personal use. In the past few years, companies have offered components to make it easier to make your own firearm at home. These frames or receivers, often called 80% receivers, have not yet crossed the legal line into becoming a firearm. In most cases, the ATF has specifically made a determination that the object is not readily convertible into a firearm and therefore a non-gun. Yeah, I mean, back in the colonial war, what would it have done? Because like a large number of
they're
Weber.
probably doing what I'm thinking. Well, I look at it like this. If I want to buy components for a computer and put my own computer together, why can't I?
You're legally allowed to possess and own a gun right now, but they don't want you to be able to piece it
we're
together.
talking about what the plan is if this
it's all
if China takes control of this country.
China. Number 3, banning online firearm and ammunition sales, which, before I even get into this, by the way, is really almost the only way right now to obtain ammunition.
If you can even find it.
If you can find it online.
Or you can afford to actually pay for it.
Or you can afford it, yeah.
It says firearms and ammunition can be legally purchased online.
I think we know people who know people have maybe bought a weapon online. You can't just have it shipped to your house.
I just bought a handgun online.
I was trying to unencrypt.
No, I bought it legally, so I don't care. It's everyone. It's easy for the government to find out. I mean, so what I did was I purchased it from a gun dealer in Texas, who then shipped it to a gun dealer, gun broker.
A legal
gun broker, registered gun broker with the ATF. I traveled to that broker, paid a fee, and he did all the paperwork and made
ran
sure...
the background check.
Ran the background check, did all the paperwork, and I took the gun home.
Legal.
There was absolutely... It's not like they shipped it to my house and all of a sudden I had a gun. That's how it works.
Well, you mean a guy didn't pull up and pop his trunk and you didn't walk out there with your hoodie?
He didn't open up his
he didn't open up his trench coat and have a bunch of handguns lined up in there.
By the way, government and all you people who are listening, and you already know this, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. If you ban the online legal purchase, well, guess what's going to happen? A bunch of criminals are going to still...
There's a law, people respect the law. You know that. That's why we have no crime. That's why we have no drug abuse in this country.
Hey, it's good to know. And knowing is half the battle. Number 4, banning assault weapons. Well, that means no more Taco Bell because... That's a deadly gas.
This is insane. Assault weapons. All guns work the same, folks. We're not allowed already to have fully automatic weapons.
At least in the state of Ohio, we're not. Yeah. There are some states where you're allowed to have fully automatic weapons, but the majority
I'm moving to Montana.
Very few.
Very few. There's only 3 off the top of my head I can think of. By and large, most people, if they have a gun, it's a semi-automatic.
This is what people don't understand. They look at an AR, they say, oh, that looks like what the military uses. Therefore, that must be a military-grade weapon. Couple things, folks. All guns work exactly the same. It's like a car. You can make it look as fancy as you want to make it look, or whatever you want to do. The reality is, it does the same thing. The only difference in a gun that most states don't allow is the difference between semi-automatics and fully automatic. Fully automatics mostly are not allowed. And okay, I'm still not okay with it, but I get it, I guess, on some level.
Well,
but there's no such thing that you can't get rid of assault weapon. That's getting rid of everything. Everything can fall under assault weapon. That's saying semi-automatic. The difference between a semi-automatic and a non-semi-automatic is semi-automatic, you can pull the trigger, then pull it again, then pull it again, then pull it again. Yeah. Otherwise, in a rifle, for instance, it would be bolt action. You fire a shot.
It could be a lever action. It could be a pump
or
action.
Lever action.
There's single action, double action, and it doesn't change anything. Right. If somebody wants to perpetuate a crime, they're going to commit their crime.
That's right.
Regardless. If they take their gun away, they're going to take them.
Well, hell, I'll tell you this: being stabbed is way more of a personal and vicious crime than being shot. But we don't talk about.
But let's go somewhere else. If just because they make them against the law doesn't mean that the criminals are still going to have them. The only thing they're doing is taking away the Second Amendment, and the Second Amendment is not there just to defend yourself against the bad person coming to your house. It's there for us to be able to defend ourselves against tyranny, which is happening right now. And they are just trying to take our guns away and get the normalcy bias, get people to believe it's the right thing to do.
They're trying to make Red Dawn more probable.
Well, even more than that, I would say, there's a move to defund the police. You defund the police, you literally unenlist the first line of defense. You take away the average American's God-given right to defend themselves. It's just a perfect cocktail for mayhem and disaster.
And folks, let me tell you, it's not a coincidence. Quit thinking everything's a coincidence.
And this is part of the normalcy bias. Exactly. Go ahead, Johnson.
Number 5, banning high-capacity magazines because you wouldn't want the person to have extra ammunition. This is what the wisdom of the Biden administration says. The Biden administration wants to ban detachable magazines that hold more than 10 rounds.
All you need is 2.
All you need is 2.
He told Jill, just fire 2 in the air.
Straight into the air. Yeah, this effort will likely be easier for them than banning assault weapons, as they'll try to argue that they aren't affecting a gun ban. They're just rendering that gun useless.
Okay, let's get into this one. This one's a little more insidious, I would say.
Number 6, universal background checks. Currently, background check requirements apply to all firearm transactions conducted through a federally licensed firearm dealer. However, under federal law, private party transactions in the same state may occur without a background check as long as the seller has no reason to believe that the recipient is a person prohibited from possessing a firearm. Universal background checks place a government barrier around a fundamental right and will, in effect, create a national firearm registry in order for the government to enforce and verify current possession of a firearm. Biden has already promised that he wants to take your guns and laid out plans to do so. With Democrats possibly poised to control all of Congress, expect them to follow through with these public promises.
How I look at this, quite frankly, if I purchase a record that Jason wants to buy, it's my record. Jason wants to buy it. He will buy it for an agreed price. And it's nobody's business but he and I who and what the transaction consists of. And I look at it the same exact way if I were to sell him a firearm, if either of us own them. And it's mine. I own it. I work for it. I'm not a criminal. And if Jason were to want to buy, he is a law-abiding citizen. He certainly has the right to do that because it's a possession.
Wait, what did you say? I have a right to do that?
You do.
You do have
But
right.
this is the thing, and this is where the normalcy bias comes in, because most people say, oh, there's shootings every year. We need to listen, do a little research. As we say, the fact that they're trying to even ban us from selling personal possessions is so intrusive. And then anytime I hear a list, the hair on the back of my neck just stands up because
It's always going somewhere, isn't it? Hey, Bill.
Well, it has to.
Bill, can you kill a person with a car?
Well, yeah.
You run them over. Are you allowed to sell a car to somebody?
You can.
I mean,
What about a knife?
What about a
Axe?
pencil?
What about a
Hatchet?
pencil?
Anything, man.
So-
the only thing taking guns away does is stop the American people from defending themselves.
Law-abiding citizens from protecting themselves.
American people, I'm saying, from protecting themselves against our government. That's why the government is the one trying to take it away,
but
folks.
the Bidens, we know, is one of the most corrupt crime organizations. I mean, they got nothing on the Gambinos and the Gotti.
I hear you.
To me, it's the same principle.
What was the reason that America won its independence? Was it because of the awesome military might that American had? Was it the
it was
Joes,
actually-
the Johns?
they
Was it
fought-
the farmers? Was it every man and woman who was tired of being oppressed by England? But if you take guns out of all the good, God-fearing, legal citizens who want to use them just for the legal purposes
It's one of the reasons we've never been attacked.
Yeah, in my opinion, it's the only reason.
I hear you. I'm going to read this one. This is an older article. Evil Turtle, Mitch McConnell, received donations from voting machine lobbyists before blocking election security bill. This is from Newsweek, July 2019. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, aka Evil Turtle, squashes two bills intended to ensure voting security on Thursday, just one day after former special counsel Robert Mueller warned that Russians were attempting to sabotage the 2020 presidential election. The plan will likely burden the two largest electronic voting machine vendors in the United States, Election Systems and Software, and Dominion Voting Systems, with new regulations and financial burdens. Together, the companies make up about 80% of all voting machines and in a country. The reason I bring this up is for those people that are still clinging on to the Republicans actually care about you. They don't. We have fact from over a year and a half ago that Evil Turtle was bought out by the same company that's helped in stealing our elections. Jason, you were talking earlier about normalcy bias in the media and the news and stuff. Go ahead and get this next article.
Rasmussen poll. Majority says media buried laptop to help Biden.
I'm sorry.
Yes, Satan.
More than half of likely voters believe news media outlets ignored a report in October that Hunter Biden's laptop computer was found to have emails incriminating him and his father in illicit foreign business deals and potential influence peddling to help the elder Biden's presidential campaign. A Rasmussen poll released Tuesday found 52% believed the story was buried so as to not damage Joe Biden's presidential aspirations. 32% say it was ignored because it was partisan hit job, and 17% weren't sure. 56% believe it is likely that elder Biden was consulted and perhaps profited from his son's business dealings in Ukraine and China, including 43% who believe it is very likely. That outnumbers the people surveyed who believe the connection is unlikely, 38%, and 22% who consider it very unlikely. The poll was taken Monday and Tuesday among a national survey of 1,000 likely voters, less than a week after Hunter Biden acknowledged the U.S. Attorney's Office in Delaware was investigating his tax filings.
Now, I do believe there's a podcast that you may or may not be listening to that actually spoke about these things.
Dude, it's so clear.
But this goes back to what you were saying earlier about the media. Most news outlets, they're not news outlets. It's entertainment is what it is.
It's not journalism, that's for sure.
I have some thoughts on Hunter Biden.
He's an idiot. Comes from upbringing. His parents are probably idiots too.
That's all I got to say about that.
Well,
Look, I mean, I know this. I'm just doing it because I have to.
Warning! Warning!
Go down for the sick,
literally, a story is made up 4 years ago, completely made up about Russian collusion and Donald Trump. Absolutely no data, absolutely no facts. It carries on for years, okay? We have actual facts, and it's pushed aside. Folks, wake the up.
Well, it goes.
I am so sick of this, man. How can people not put two and two together? How can they be so blind?
Well, it goes back to what we talk about, the Alinsky rule. They are accusing Trump of what they themselves have done.
I hear you.
I've compiled a list.
It's the media like you said, they control everything. So, of course, they're not going to bring up anything about Biden because Biden is part of the New World Order. It's part of the whole deal. It's part of the China takeover. Who owns all these media platforms? China. Folks, figure it out already.
I've been compiling a little list, and I call it the good for thee, not for me list. And what this list consists of are some of the governors, mayors, and senators, congresspeople that have violated their own quote-unquote edicts when it comes to COVID.
Right. So they say these are the orders. These are the restrictions and rules of coronavirus that you must follow.
Right.
And they don't follow. They've been caught not following them.
And-
of course, it's someone else's fault.
Nobody's
someone
perfect.
else's fault.
Nobody's perfect.
Someone else's
Well,
fault.
and this is
or it's for a good cause.
Or is a setup?
And trust me, this is a brief list, okay? Once again, I call this the good for thee, not for me list. And the winners are...
Wait, we have to get a little drum roll, maybe?
Okay. California Governor Gavin Newsom, New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio, Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser, Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi, Jason's favorite, Philadelphia Mayor Jim Kenney, Virginia Governor, let's keep the baby comfortable, Ralph Northam, Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, Rhode Island Governor Gina Raimondo, Austin, Texas Mayor Steve Adler, New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy, and Portland, Oregon Mayor Ted Wheeler. Now, notice one thing about them, they're all Democrats.
I was just saying, I know you didn't put any D's and
one
R's
of them,
next to them, but
I know, but every damn one, I was going to, but every single one of them is a Democrat. Come on.
Demo-rats, baby.
Basically.
Hey, it's just another coincidence, Bill. If you made a list of all the coincidences, I don't think we could sum that up in 5 freaking shows.
Oh, we're gonna need some time for the next one.
Okay, if you don't understand that you're being literally no Vaseline, like Ice Cube said, up the tailpipe.
Like Charlie Sheen with a Hollywood hooker and paying you for a service, and I want you to keep your mouth shut afterwards.
$600 penance. Pittance for what? The stimulus package, while
Pork barrel spending.
$600. I mean, what do you helping?
and
with?
listen, at this point, I don't want the money. I don't want the money anyway because inflation's already going to go through the roof anyway. But lion's share, what I did this week was try to compile this. There's
And you fact check this.
Yes.
And that's why it takes time because folks, this is what we call fact checking, not feeling checking, fact
And
checking.
I looked at this from 3 different sources, and I put the page numbers where this was marked when I could find them. Mind you, this isn't everything.
So what John and I are about to read is a $9 billion stimulus package. Pork
barrel spending.
Yes.
Yeah,
pork
you've
belly
heard the term
spending.
pork spending, but this is it.
And if you don't know what pork means, basically it's just all this extra added crap.
It's pork belly.
fat.
Pork belly. It's all fat.
Right.
Pork belly's fat.
You don't need, exactly.
So real quick, John and Bill, I want to ask you a quick question. Whose $9 billion is this?
It'd be Bill's
you,
and mine
all
and
of
yours.
us.
So this isn't the government's money. This is our money. And I want to throw this out, folks. Remember, these are the elected officials. These are the
employees.
folks that we've put in charge, okay? This is our doing.
Yeah.
They're elected employees.
Number 1.
$300 million for migrants and refugees assistance. You can find that on page 147.
Number 2. 10,000 per person for student balances. Number 3.
$100 million to NASA.
Which, by the way, the Democrats have all publicly stated how they'd like to shut down NASA.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's pretty much defunct. I mean, we just should give that money to Elon Musk at this point.
Well,
SpaceX.
anyway.
Space Force.
Number 4. $20 million to the United States Postal Service, USPS.
All right.
Number 5.
$300 million to the endowment of the arts. Because I know, man, without those, this country would fall apart. Don't worry about the people.
Yes. Number 6. $300 million for the endowment for humanities. Oh, the humanities.
All right, so real quick, through those first 6 there, it's been in the 100 millions, right? So let's drop down to 50 million for our veterans, okay? 50 million for veterans employment training. Let's don't put any money there. They're only killing themselves for a fucking day.
Look at the next one.
Number 8.
$435 million for mental health support.
Number 9.
$30 billion for the Department of Education Stabilization Fund.
Number 10.
$200 million for safe school emergency response to violence program. How the hell are there going to be violence in schools when everyone's at home?
Good question. Number 11.
$300 million to public broadcasting.
Number 12.
$500 million to museums and libraries. libraries.
There you go. There's wise spending. Number 13.
$720 million to the Social Security Administration.
Number 14.
$25 million for cleaning supplies for the Capitol building.
That place does need cleaned up. In fairness, that might be the one that they're wisely spending on.
$25 million.
You can find that on page 136, by the way.
Number 15.
Over $7 million to the Smithsonian for additional salaries.
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 People in America don't have a job.
Yeah, they're taking our salaries to give, that's just rich. Number 16.
$35 million to the JFK Center Performing Arts. I say throw some mothballs in there, lock that bastard up.
Wait, how much did they get back in June or whatever?
It was $48 million.
So they've almost gotten $100 million.
Oh, well, they need it.
Well, it is JFK.
This one should crease you. I'm glad Jason's getting this one.
Number 17.
Duct tape, please.
Duct tape moment.
All right, here we go. Ready?
Get it tight. Get it tight. Good. All right, $25 million for additional salary for the House of Representatives.
We need the big Chuck and Little John laugh right now.
These are folks that have not lost any money during this.
They're affected by COVID.
How is this possible, man?
Plus free travel,
Folks,
free lodging, free...
This is bullshit. I mean, this is exactly why we had a freaking revolution. Because this is what the freaking king and fuckers in England did.
They are robbing us and asking us to thank them for it.
Thank you, sir. May I have another?
Number 18.
$3 billion to upgrade the IT department at the VA.
Yeah, don't worry about helping veterans get jobs. $3 billion for an IT department?
Computers are expensive.
Yeah, stuff ain't free. Doesn't
Hey, if Bill Gates was a real humanitarian or Tim Cook, they'd donate that. But anyway, go ahead.
Number 19.
$350 million for State Department diplomatic programs.
Number 20.
$95 million for the Agency of International Development.
Number 21.
$300 million for international disaster assistance. International disaster assistance.
Intergalactic. Number 22.
$19
million for the Peace Corps, found on page 148.
Forrest Gump will like that. Number 23.
$13 million to Harvard University, page 121.
I'm a bum, but I'm a Harvard bum. Number 24.
$9 million for miscellaneous Senate expenses, found on page 134.
Miscellaneous. Yeah, we got some more pork in there. What should we put it under? I don't know. What do we need? I think we need like $9
Should we give it to
more?
the people? No, I think the Senate wants some.
We'll just call it miscellaneous. They'll never ask. They'll never question it. Oh, sweet Jesus. Number 25.
$100 million to essential air carriers. Is that supposed to be essential?
No, it's essential air carriers. I have no idea what that means, but that's what it is.
We don't need to know. It might as well be a toilet seat.
Page 162.
That line from Independence Day, he's like, $20 billion for toilet seats? Come on, do the math.
Pretty much.
Number 26.
$40 billion to take responsibility to Workers and Family Act, page 160.
But what does that mean?
I have no idea.
$40 billion to take responsibility to workers
I don't
and
know.
families.
A lot of this stuff, I think they're just saying, hey, we just grease our palms. I don't know. I literally have no idea what any of this stuff...
How dumb do you think the Americans are? We'll make them pay for water.
Well, they're not dumb. They have a normalcy bias.
Yeah.
Go ahead, John.
Oh, I don't know. The Americans are not that dumb. They'll never pay. Oh, yes, they will. They will spend $40 billion to take responsibility to Workers and Families Act, page. Sorry. Number 27.
$1 billion airlines recycle and save program, page 163. I mean, we are definitely helping out our country.
Number 28.
$492 million to National Railroad Passenger Corporation, Amtrak. You can find that on page 167. Because, who the hell travels on Amtrak anymore? But nonetheless, go ahead.
Well, this one,
The Chinese military.
this one goes right along with that one.
Well, come on.
Number 29. As if $492 million to Amtrak wasn't enough.
$526 million grant to Amtrak to remain available if needed through 2021, page 168.
So they got $1 billion.
Yeah, we're all shut in.
Amtrak got $1 billion,
We
right?
can't travel. No travel. Stay home. Shelter at home because you're going to make people sick. However, Amtrak. Number 30.
$25 million to the FHA for administrative costs, page 165.
$25 million to the administrator in his back pocket. Number 31.
$25 billion with the B
Billion, baby.
for transit infrastructure, found on page 169.
Fix the pothole in my street.
Actually, that might be needed.
It might be.
Number 32. 32.
$3 million for maritime administration, page 172.
Number 33. $50 million salary and expense office of the Inspector General. Number 34.
$2,500,000 public and Indian housing, page 175.
And this one kind of tricked Indian. I didn't know if they were talking about the country of India or if they were being culturally inappropriate and talking about like Native Americans.
Yeah.
No, they're probably talking about Native Americans because it's only 2.5 million.
Yeah.
If it was going to another country, I'm sure it would be in the hundreds of millions.
Yeah, you're right.
Good call.
So the less it is, the more it's for
We
folks here in
slaughtered
the
your
US.
ancestors and we shipped you off to some remote place, and then we shipped you off to another remote place. But here's $2.5 million.
The reason it's 2.5 million is, hey man, they got the sports teams to change the name, so we feel like we're doing a good thing.
And they got casinos.
Number 35.
$5 million for community planning and development, page 175, which, by the way, Barack Obama, he was a community organizer.
That's
so
right.
let that sink in, folks.
Number 36.
$2.5 million for Office of Housing. So the math is very simple. It is costing all of us $900 billion. We're each being paid $600. $900 billion divided by all 330 million people is $2,727 per person. Your $600 check is going to cost you $2,727. I know this is emotional for people, but this is not a good deal. Adding to this, almost $4 billion for National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, page 136. $800 million for construction to new research facilities, $1 million for modernization of Herbert C. Hoover Building, $17 million to Vaccine Injury Fund.
And you can find that on page 135, 141, and 135. And the other thing that was funny that we didn't even bring up is there was money going to the Pakistani government for gender neutrality studies.
Yeah, there's a lot more money out there.
Yeah, but this is what the government does. They've created a normalcy bias, and most people in America are either too stupid to. Orwell even talks about this in 1984, which if you haven't read it, you ought to.
So how many billions of dollars is this?
900.
What I'd like to read is the actual dollar amount going to the American people. 198 billion.
Not even a quarter.
About 20%. Not even quite 20%.
That's what they think of you.
About 20%.
2 donuts for you, 98 donuts for me.
So it's kind of like buying a house, pretty much. That's what's going on here. You pay $100,000 for the house, but you pay the bank $17 million over 30 years.
Well, and inflation is going to go up. I don't know how Pakistan gender neutrality studies in Pakistan, which by the way is a predominantly Muslim country, which I don't want to be a certain way. This is a fact. They're not as tolerant to certain lifestyle choices as Americans are. So I don't know what the hell that's for.
Basically, all that math we just did
does not compute.
A lot of
Jason's about ready to lose it. Do you need more duct tape?
Seriously, I'm checked out.
I'm with you.
So I want to just discuss the fact that this has been going on for a long time. And once again, I'm going to rail on the people in the church because you should have enough spiritual acuity and be close enough to God to understand that stuff's going on. And you can even see this in the
quote Jack, you got to grow some stones.
That's right. So Matthew...
Or brain.
That would come in handy also. Matthew 16:21-23 in the International Version. It says, from that time on, Jesus began to explain to his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things at the hands of the elders, the chief priests, and the teachers of the law, and that he must be killed on the third day and rose to life. Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. Never, Lord, he said, this shall never happen to you. Then Jesus turned, said to Peter, get behind me, Satan. You are a stumbling block to me, and you have not the mind or the concerns of God, but merely human concerns. You can even see that there's a normalcy bias there. Johnny, go ahead and read this next part from Men in Black.
Men in Black, quoting K and J. K, we do not discharge our weapons in view of the public. J, we don't got time for this cover-up bullcrap. Look, I don't know if you forgot, but there's an Aquilian battle. K, there's always an Aquilian battle cruiser or a Aquilian death ray or an intergalactic plague that is about to wipe out all of life on this miserable planet. The only way these people can get on with their happy lives is if they do not know about it.
What did you just say?
Do not know about it.
All right, so we're talking about the enforcement of this normalcy bias. I don't know. I'm wondering at this point, are we doing a good enough job of illustrating that we are veritable frogs in the water that's being turned up and being boiled? I don't know how else to tell you. We need to stop projecting our goodness onto people that are the most evil, corrupt that have ever walked this planet. I know I say that and people say, no, you don't believe that. Look at Hitler. Look at Mussolini. Look at who. I'm like, yeah, the only thing that separates them from us right now is time and history. We are dealing with really evil people. I think the reward for conformity is that everyone likes you except yourself. Rita Mae Brown. The individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. To be your own man is hard business. If you try it, you will be lonely often and sometimes frightened. But no price is too high to pay for the privilege of owning yourself. Rudyard Kipling. And I love that. I just want to lay this out. And I really want people to consider what's going on. And I know so many people don't. So many people just checked out and be like, nah, I'm good. I don't want to, Trump concede. Go ahead. Let's just give this $900 billion to whoever. Let's just do. Folks, you can't.
What was that line from the movie The Matrix? I know that when I'm looking at this steak, it is just the Matrix telling me that it's juicy and delicious. But what I've come to find after all these years is ignorance is bliss.
But it isn't.
It isn't. That's what the sellout will tell you. Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, I have these conversations with a lot of people. Like, you're a conspiracy theorist. I wish there was an actual thing of getting $1 every time someone said that to me. I would be really well off at this point. But I really believe that this normalcy bias is putting most people in a very dangerous position and they don't even know it. No offense, I don't suffer under that delusion because I see what's going on. I'm either blessed or cursed with being able to look at things and say, nah, that's not quite right.
No, you're just not a fucking retard.
That's retard.
Our Bill's a retard.
Your language is offensive.
Find your language offensive.
I don't know how to convey to you guys. We are being invaded. It's a coup, like Jason talked about many, many episodes ago. There's a coup. We have people who are going to potentially be in the leadership of this country who are compromised, who are owned by the Chinese government. Goodbye, YouTube. And this is a dangerous thing.
What do the parents tell the prayer for kids? Is Lord, give me eyes that I might see, give me ears that I might hear, give me a brain that I might think, give me a voice that I might speak. Apparently that's not good enough anymore. Now it's just give me tunnel vision so that I can get through this miserable world. I mean, anybody with a brain and some brain waves that are still functioning can realize something ain't right.
Right, and even with some spiritual acuity, because you understand, if you've read the end of the book, you understand a lot of things are starting to kind of fall into place.
Absolutely.
Leading us down that path. The one thing that really makes me pucker up, these vaccines, if you don't take them, you're not going to be able to travel. You're not going to be able to go to work. You're not going to be able to, beyond the concerts. I mean, you're not going to be able to have a job. That to me makes me really concerned because that's that Revelation 13 idea,
Listen, I'm feeling like we're wasting our time with this podcast. And what I mean by this, we're not changing. These people are so ignorant. They're so blinded, whatever you want to say. Why are we wasting our time? We need to start focusing on how we are going to make a difference because it's not going to be by changing these people. They're hook, line, and sinker. It's unbelievable. They're part of the problem, not part of the solution.
Well, and moving forward in the new year, I think at some point you just kind of have to cut bait and run. You know what I mean?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
There's always some things in my heart I feel like are kind of swirling around. And I know just from talking to you guys, there are things in your heart too. And I believe we're going to be able to address that. But I just wanted people to know the last message that you're going to hear from us in 2020, wake up from this normalcy bias. If you are hearing this and you think are crazy, I would like to challenge you. Jason introduced to all of us the 5 whys. Why are Bill, Jason, and John conspiracy theorists? Why are these points that they're bringing up to ask me to think about? Why am I not? Or why is this? Why is that? And if you get feelings, you don't get data, you need to challenge and question yourself in that.
Check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Listen.
Warning!
If you're one of the people that think that we're crazy with all the things we're saying, you deserve everything you're going to get. Period. End of story.
Well,
be blind. Just go along with what all these thief politicians and lying media tells you. Just go ahead, keep being a sheep because you know where they get led to.
Where would Tina Turner be right now if she rolled over and said, "Hit me again, Ike," and put some stank on it?
I just finished watching The Mandalorian season 2 last night. In one of the episodes, the guy made a comment. It really resonated. I'm like, I just want to mention it. So he said, you see, boys, what everyone thinks they want is freedom, but what they really want is order. When they realize that, they're going to welcome us back with open arms. Basically what he's saying, people don't want freedom. They want order. They want normalcy bias. They don't want to put any effort into thinking or educating themselves. They want to be dumbed down. They want to watch Netflix. They want to be able to be entertained because when you are entertained, you don't have to think.
They want to be part of the Matrix.
Exactly.
The sad part is that's true.
That's what we're saying in this
the
episode.
Wide path to destruction. There's the narrow path. There's the wide path.
Exactly.
The wide path to destruction is getting wider because there are more and more people trying to funnel through that.
Right.
It's simply people, it seemed like, fit the same scenario as water and electricity. They flow in the easiest path. That's what they take. They take the easiest path. It's always easier to destroy than it is to build. It's always easier to be dumb than it is to be enlightened. It's always easier to ignore than it is to accept.
It's always easier to be led than to lead.
100%.
And Jay, to answer your question earlier, I think there are still a few fighters. There's still a few freedom fighters out there. I think that's why we are doing what we're doing.
No, they're out there.
We're trying to speak
but
to the
they already know what we know. I don't think that we're going to be able to change anyone else's minds. These people, like, I have family members, and I look at them just like, I cannot believe you are as you are. Like, how?
Ignorant wretch.
Can't you open your mind? You're listening to what these people say, and several of them I'm talking to, and I'm telling them information. They're like, really? I'm like, dude, do you do any research at all?
What's wrong with you?
think Jason's right. I don't know what else we can say to convince people, and I think moving forward, it's going to be more of a strategery thing. But with that being said, any of you two have any closing statements?
I've said everything I want
Jason, no. Johnny?
More God, and we win in the end.
All right.
In the end, we win.
Go with the more God, more God.
More God. Okay. So he augmented his answer. So more God on you, more God on you, more
Won't
God
be
on
the last time.
More God on me. Awesome. Anyway, so listen, guys, please wake up. Want to tell you to get in the arena, and we want to thank you guys. Please share. Make sure that you follow us. We're doing well on Rumble. Well, we're still on YouTube. We're still on Apple. We're still on Spotify, anywhere else you can hear podcasts. Please subscribe. Flawed Inc., Flawedcast, Flawedcast CLE. Our website's flawedinc.com. Currently, we're still on some social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're doing well on Pollard. Thank you for all the people that are showing love and support there. We're on Gab, Flawed Inc. Once again, flawedinc.com. If you have a question, comment, concern, email us, info@flawedinc, or send us a message on one of our social media platforms. With that being said, Happy New Year, and good luck with the apocalypse.
Yeah.